Welcome back to the Mega Floating Shelf Challenge 2026. This loop around blob on my north wall has always been a temporary situation. It never occurred to me to see if these large passenger cars can actually handle tighter curves, and it turns out that they can. So I decided to test a 9-inch radius versus the original 12-inch radius, and that would save me a ton of space on these blobs. I can make this floating blob much smaller, and I can probably even fit it into the corner where it won't stick out at all from the garage door. These turnaround blobs are really just there to get the trains turned around, and they represent the world beyond, and they're not going to be scenic. They're going to be off stage. The only thing they have to do is get the trains turned around without derailing. So it doesn't matter what they look like. So let's test out the Shinkansen at full operational speed. This is the first Shinkansen I bought. It's like the N700S, I think, and it runs really great. I like this train a lot, and I've kind of landed on 6 cars as optimal for my layout size. All right, moment of truth. We're coming up on the loop around. And to my surprise, it worked like a charm. So now I want to test the Amtrak Superliner because these cars are even longer than the Shinkansen. And once again, it looks like it's going to work fine. I think the takeaway here is that I can push Kato's minimum turning radius requirements quite a bit. All right, so now it's time to build it out of wood. And since my foam version fit just right, I use that as a template to cut my 1/2-inch plywood version with a handheld jigsaw. And it fits nice and snug. I'm just using some strategically placed screws to hold everything in place so I can uninstall all of this on a dime if I want. And now I'm starting to add some of the bling, like these curved corners. I do all this stuff super lo-fi. I got a jigsaw, I got a handsaw, masonite, just bend those little strips around, pilot holes, 3/4-inch screws. When the glue dries, I'll pull the screws out. I'll do one more layer of masonite. I have a table saw, but it takes about 10 minutes to set up. So if I only have one cut to do and it's only going to take me 5 minutes, I'll just do it by hand instead of going through the rigmarole of setting up my table saw. And just doing a little bit of light sanding. Basically, I'm just adding some thickness to the lip right now. It'll just make the shelving look more robust and durable. And I'm just gluing it up with wood glue. I'll clamp it down for a couple hours and then I'll sand it. As the molding is drying, I can also add the wood putty, fill in the holes, smooth out the gaps. This stage is all about wood glue, plastic wood putty, and sandpaper. Now I just need to walk away and let this dry. I'll come back, do a final sanding, and throw a couple layers of paint on it. I would classify the quality of my woodworking skills as rough finish. My cabinet making looks good if you squint your eyes from a few feet away. So it feels good to get that north blob all finished, and now this mega floating shelf is ready for a finalized train layout. If I wasn't so obsessed with having a bullet train line, I could really have one heck of a freight line on this ginormous shelf. I think jamming 2 unique lines on this shelf is going to be kind of bittersweet, but I really want both. Whenever a construction project requires me to take my trains offline, I try to get them up and running as quickly as possible once the project's complete. I think leaving the trains offline for weeks or months at a time would probably kill my momentum and kill this whole project. I think I am starting to hone in on a final layout. I got rid of the interchange that I added a couple videos ago. I found the fact that the interchange shares the same staging as the main line really just too messy and complicated for staging. And I turned that interchange back into an industry with a couple tracks, and I just think it's going to be a lot more useful and fun. Also, I think the jury is still out on the freight line and the Shinkansen line sharing the same reversing loop for that new blob I just built. I don't really like micromanaging the flow of trains, so I may separate those again and have 2 distinct lines. I may still have a line that connects the 2 lines or not. I'm thinking it through.